fellow plebs. This is Jake.
And I'm Jacob. Welcome to Jacob Squared. Today's topic, Rockstar and the 3 sequels. Now, our 3 sequels, Red Dead, Bully, and LA Noire. Now, let's start with how the games ended. LA Noire.
LA Noire centers around Cole Phelps, and at the end of the game, he goes through this big heroic scene, and he ends up saving 2 other characters, and he ends up drowning in the process to try and save them. And in Bully, that story centers around Jimmy Hopkins, and at the end of that game, he faces off against the main antagonist, Gary, and he ends up winning and beating him in this big fight, and he ends up realizing his ultimate goal and becoming the leader of the school.
In Red Dead, you play as John Marston. In the end of the game, you end up being tracked down by the law after you've killed all your former gang members, and they corner you in your barn. You heroically go to stave them off, I guess, so they won't burn down the barn and kill your wife and child, and you get gunned down by them, thus ending in your death and starting your journey as playing as John Marston's son. Now, what we were going to talk about now is which of these 3 deserves the sequel the most, and what the sequel could be about. I'll start with Red Dead. Now, Red Dead, I feel, deserves the sequel spot second most, in my personal opinion. Mostly due to its late fame and Bully having the bigger following, in my opinion. What the sequel could be about, I mean, I don't know. It could be, more of the story of the West, what was going on in the West, other than John Marston's story. It could be about Native Americans. It could be about other cowboys, other outlaws. It could be a revenge story where John Marston's boy goes and hunts down the lawmen who killed his dad. These are my opinions on what Red Dead 2 could be about.
And Bully, going on to Bully, they left it open because Bulworth Academy is a high school, and so they left that open for Jimmy to go off to college. So you have a whole new story, whole new setting, where Jimmy could be in college, and Gary could possibly come back and have that whole dilemma again. And you have the opportunity for, a bigger school. You could bring back some of the main characters that were in the game. And you even had the guy who voiced Jimmy saying that he would be more than willing to come back and do the game. I mean, this one you have the opportunity for just a huge story. And moving on to LA Noire, this one is probably the weakest link of the bunch, because you had, main character death,
Story resolving.
the story had a huge resolve at the end. There was no after gameplay like in Bully and Red Dead Redemption, because in both those games you could still continue on playing even after the main story was over. This one, it's basically he died. And you have to, if you want to see any of the other cutscenes, you have to replay it all over again. But they had a great system going with this game. All the detective work, the facial features that they were using in the game were just spectacular. But like I said, this is probably the weakest link of the bunch. The order I think that this would probably go in is, I think Bully will more than likely get the sequel. Red Dead Redemption is the second most likely because, yes, that one is also very popular. Unfortunately, there were just too many problems, and like I said, the result ending with LA Noire. There are just too many problems with that one. Still a possibility, though.
Still a possibility. Another thing we could talk about here is there is a possibility, maybe, of a new game coming out, maybe a fresh start, fresh franchise. I don't see it as too likely. I mean, feel free to comment below and tell us what you believe, personally. I love reading them. I'm sure Jacob does too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's what our opinions on the Rockstar's 3 sequels are. Bully at number 1, of course, because biggest following, in my opinion, the biggest want for a sequel.
And they are actually the only ones so far to reestablish their license. They just got a reestablished license for the Bully game.
Red Dead going in second, just because mostly I feel like the story was pretty much resolved at the end of Red Dead with John Marston. If they were going to do a sequel, it would have to be about an entirely new character, or maybe even John Marston's son, more focusing on the story of the West, less so than the characters. L.A. Noire gets third, simply because it had a resolved ending, character death. There's not much more we can go on. If there was going to be an L.A. Noire sequel, you would either have to play as a new detective, or, I mean, in my opinion anyway, I think it would be interesting, maybe you could play on the other side of things, play as the serial killer or something. You have to stalk your victims, learn them. Just my opinion, though. And I think that's it.
Yeah, guys, leave a comment below and let us know which one you'd like to see and which one you think is going to get the sequel. We're very curious about this. This has been a big topic for a while now because...
A little bit of a household debate.
Because Rockstar, obviously with their huge success of Grand Theft Auto 5, well, now they have to try to come up with something to compete with that.
Yep. Oh, do me a favor, personally. You see that little red button right there, maybe right there, somewhere below here? I want you to click that. So that way you can get your daily, or weekly anyway, doses of Jacob Squared and your friendly debates. Have a great day.
And don't ever be afraid to be a pleb.